Alzheimer's and dementia are not normal. Isn't that good news? It's a tragic thing today that in Australia, 50% of Australians have, are, or will suffer from some form of mental illness.
Did you know that 55 million people worldwide are living with dementia? And every year, 10 million new cases are being diagnosed. This estimate from the World Health Organization, WHO, deserves our attention. Join us as Barbara O'Neill, an expert in alternative health, helps us understand dementia in simple terms. Most importantly, she will highlight active steps we can take to lower the risk of developing dementia. Stay tuned to stay informed.
The human body will deteriorate, but the human brain need never deteriorate. This is shocking news for most people, and it should be shocking news because in society today we've got 1,700 new cases of Alzheimer's being diagnosed every week. That's quite alarming, isn't it? And I don't know anyone that wants to go there.
Dementia is a general word for several diseases that affect memory, thinking, and the ability to perform daily activities. And it is one of the major causes of disability and dependency among older people globally. Note that dementia is not a normal part of aging and that it often gets worse over time. Dementia involves gradually destroying nerve cells and damaging the brain. This damage typically results in a decline in cognitive function that goes beyond what we'd expect from normal aging. While a person's consciousness remains unaffected, cognitive decline often comes with changes in mood, emotional control, behavior, or motivation, and sometimes these changes occur before the cognitive issues arise. Early signs and symptoms of dementia can include forgetting recent events and misplacing items. People may find themselves getting lost while walking or driving and feeling confused even in familiar places. They might lose track of time and struggle with making decisions. Following conversations can become difficult, as can finding the right words. Familiar tasks may become challenging, and there may be issues with visually judging distances to objects. Dementia impacts people differently. Its effect depends on the causes behind it, any other health issues present, and cognitive abilities before the onset of dementia. Alzheimer's disease is the most common form of dementia and may contribute to 60 to 70% of cases. Dementia risk factors include being over 65, hypertension, diabetes, obesity, smoking, excessive alcohol, physical inactivity, social isolation, and depression. Addressing these risks can help lower dementia chances.
In a book written only a few years ago called Stop Alzheimer's Now, Dr. Bruce Fife in his book, he shows very clearly that Alzheimer's is preventable and even at some stages even treatable. If it is not able to get a turnaround, definitely there can be a cessation of the decline in the symptoms.
Now let's cover the first habit affecting brain health.
So we're moving on through looking at what causes a compromise of your prefrontal cortex. The fourth law is rest. Dr. Matthew Walker, in his book Why We Sleep, fascinating book, he said when you have 10 nights of 6 hours sleep a night, that's 50% less cognitive performance, 50% less physical performance. And he said the problem is you don't even know it because you feel okay with 6 hours. If you have 4 hours sleep, you know it. You don't feel great. But he said 6 hours, it's a deception. Who's trying to deceive us? Who's trying to deceive us? Well, caffeine's a pretty successful one, but the lack of sleep. Depression and Alzheimer's can all be contributed to that. Alzheimer's and dementia are not normal. Isn't that good news? What the research is showing is that people who have dementia and Alzheimer's, they have amyloid plaques, which are like little calcified build-ups in their prefrontal cortex. What's the intellect, reason and judgment like on someone with Alzheimer's or dementia? It's directly affected. When we go to bed early, that stimulates the glial cells. And our glial cells are our brain's vacuum cleaners.
Think of glial cells as the brain's cleaning crew. While we're awake, waste and toxins can build up, and these glial cells help clear them away while we sleep. This cleaning process is especially effective during the early part of the night, particularly when we enter deep sleep.
So I'm going to give you the names of two people that we all know, well, not personally, but know of, and that's Margaret Thatcher. She boasted on she only needed 5 hours sleep a night. And how did she spend the last 20 years of her life? Severe dementia. The other one is President Ronald Reagan. He also boasted that he only needed 5 hours sleep a night. And how did he spend his latter years? Also severe Alzheimer's dementia. That's enough to make me want to go to bed early.
These cases highlight a hard truth. Neglecting sleep might seem harmless in the short term, but over time, it could contribute to serious brain conditions like Alzheimer's and dementia. Sleep isn't just rest, it's the brain protection. Now that we have a clearer understanding of how sleep duration, a physiological condition, can affect cognitive function, let's explore how what we drink, namely caffeine, impacts brain function.
You know what that caffeine does? It disrupts the neurotransmitters in the brain. And when it disrupts the neurotransmitters in the brain, it causes a chemical imbalance in the brain. They don't tell you that on the coffee packet, do they? And what's depression? What's a term for depression? A chemical imbalance in the brain. Caffeine is a deception. It gives you a lift, but not long after that, it's going to give you the dump. To take caffeine for a lift is like taking out a loan to pay off your loan. Eventually there's a deficit, isn't there? There is an oil that God made that can heal brain cells, and it's called the coconut. And in his book, Stop Alzheimer's Now, he shows how when we take the coconut oil, the liver converts the medium chain fatty acids in the coconut oil to ketones. And ketones are neurohealers. Ketones are neuroprotectors. In his book, Stop Alzheimer's Now, he has stories about people who have turned Alzheimer's around. Now, we've been told, stop the coconut oil, it's a saturated fat, it'll give you heart disease, is that right? Dr. Bruce Fife, he's written many books on the coconut oil, and he shows that the coconut oil is unique because the breakdown begins in the mouth. Every other oil, the breakdown begins under the action of bile and pancreatic lipase. It's an incredible oil. The body can use it so easily.
Barbara talked about an island where every meal includes coconut, grated as cream, milk, or oil. But despite its popularity, some have cautioned against coconut because of its saturated fat, linking it to heart disease, strokes, diabetes, and cancer. This caution is unfounded.
I don't take coconut oil every meal, but if I had any trace of Alzheimer's or any signs, I would. You start with a teaspoon 3 times a day and you build up to a tablespoon 3 times a day of coconut oil. And guess what? People who are eating that diet don't have heart attacks or strokes because fat doesn't cause heart attacks and strokes.
Dr. Fife's research also shows that Alzheimer's, dementia, Huntington's disease, Parkinson's disease, and multiple sclerosis often come from brain damage. This damage can also be caused by heavy metals, chemicals, or even dental issues like root canal fillings that leak toxins into the brain.
Every Friday and every Saturday night, we see young people losing their minds and we see deaths. A lot of young people today are combining the vodka and sugar, called alcopops, with the Red Bulls, which is the sugar and the caffeine. There will be brain cell death that night.
Alcohol and tobacco are major contributors to brain health, especially with relevant to dementia. Alcohol shrinks the brain over time, especially in areas like gray matter, which we rely on for memory and decision making. It also damages the white matter that helps different parts of the brain communicate. This kind of damage doesn't just lead to slower thinking, it can make the brain age much faster, sometimes making it seem nearly 12 years older than it should be, pushing the brain closer to dementia. Tobacco, on the other hand, with its nicotine, rewires the brain, making it crave more. And when someone tries to quit, the anxiety and irritability that follow make it even harder. Over time, long-term smoking increases the risk of strokes and neurodegenerative diseases, putting the brain on a fast track toward dementia. When alcohol and tobacco combine, they can make the brain's decline even more likely.
My husband is one of 5 children. He has 2 brothers and 2 sisters. And one of his brothers was a brilliant mind. He was the key debater in the debating team. They had great plans for him, and at 16 he had some marijuana and it just tipped his brain, and he's never been the same since. He was dux of the school. Within 6 months he was failing his exams. Tragic. I have several friends. One friend had 4 children. She has 2 now. One of her sons got drug-induced psychosis and hung himself. Her other son went into heroin and overdosed. Tragic. Tonight, some young people will die because of this.
While there are still ongoing studies for reversing dementia, many ways can support both individuals living with it and their caregivers. Those with dementia can enhance their quality of life by staying active, engaging in brain-stimulating activities, and socializing with others. Writing down daily tasks can help with memory, and staying involved in hobbies and social activities is beneficial. It's helpful to have trusted people to assist with choices and to keep emergency contact information handy. Certain medications can help manage symptoms, so it's important to seek professional assistance from a specialist doctor. Do you find this video captivating? If so, subscribe for more similar videos.